Hey everybody, welcome back to the Center Lane, the political discussion for those of us in the middle that want to find compromise between right and left. Uh, Check out that debate last night. Let me tell you something. It was fun. It didn't really change the needle or move the needle. Trump is 50 points ahead. It's over. But let me tell you something, man. If you didn't get a chance to see it, you should at least try to look at some of the highlights because kind of a doozy. So I was, if nothing else, I was entertained. So let's get to it. How did it go? Well, if you haven't seen any of it yet, there was some really going after each other to the degree of like it almost looked like a reality TV show where they're faking the arguments just to make it entertaining. That's how heavy a couple of them got. For example, we'll start with Vivek. First off, let's just start with this. Everybody went after Haley at the beginning, besides Christie, but the other two, DeSantis and Vivek, were on Haley every step of the way. And she was kind of reserved. She didn't say a whole lot. She didn't stand out as much to me a lot in that debate because she kind of was on the defensive, but she also handled it well as a mature adult, which is kind of nice to see, I guess. So I think that in that part she did well. But Vivek, a couple times, me and my wife were watching, just going, man, just kick him off the stage. He's just ridiculous, some of the stuff he was getting into. And you know what? I don't know if he's doing it because he wants to boost his podcast, or whatever it is he's up to, writing another book. I don't know what it is because he doesn't seem like a serious candidate sometimes. A couple times he seems like he makes some sense. He's talking about broken healthcare system and how to maybe we should, fentanyl coming across the border. We should try to look at the people who are addicted to it. Things like that make sense. That's fine. I agree with that. But man, he was just like he went after Haley pretty hard, calling her, wondering how she got her $8 million when she was broke, when she wasn't with the UN and this and that. How'd you make that money? And you were working for Boeing and you were doing paid speeches. I'm like, dude, talk about the kettle calling, the person called the kettle black or whatever that saying, as the saying goes. How'd you get your money? You want to talk about that? If you don't know how Vivek got his money, then you need to, dig a little bit about how he got his money. He's the pump and dump scheme from hell. He buys companies that are hurting. He pumps up the stock, then he sells them, and then when people find out that the company they sold them weren't generally worthless, they're left holding the bag. And he did it time and time again. The biggest one with the Alzheimer drugs, and that's a whole story, and it'd be a different podcast. If you're interested, though, there's a particular drug that was an Alzheimer's cure pill that he had bought in a company, was interested in, and trying to develop that. And the testing was very, very suspect. First test, it showed some promise. Second test, ran by his mother, oh, by the way, showed amazing results. So much so that if you're a Medicare if you're getting Medicare, they raised it $10. They were going to raise it $10 because this drug was expensive, and they thought this would be something that's worth it for the government to buy and invest in. So we're going to raise everybody's premiums $10 a month. Well, second test come through, they're really promising. So the stock price goes way up. And what does he do? He takes all his holdings, sells them, right? Third test come around. Stuff doesn't work. And like I said, the second test, his mother was overseeing the results of that. That's really shaky. So in other words, long story short, you're going to give Haley a hard time about trying to go out and make a living, and then your track record is not clean. So Christie would really just freaking brought him down 2 or 3 to 4 notches. I mean, Christie was on fire, I thought. I thought Christie did a really good job when they let him talk. But Christie basically told him that he's a loud mouth, that he doesn't know what he's talking. It was great. It was great stuff. I don't want to go through, I'll give you a spoiler alert. Go on YouTube. You can see the highlights if you haven't seen it yet. Very good. So Vivek, he shouldn't even be up there. It was just a couple times people were booing him like, just get off the stage, dude. You're just a clown. So he's out. DeSantis actually was pretty strong. I mean, he's become better. I'll give him credit for that, for his debating style. I mean, but again, I guess he can't help his nervous tics, but he does this before he starts getting ready to answer questions like, what's going on behind those eyeballs there? But he did a decent job stating his case. I don't agree with 99.9% of things he says or does, but I'll give him credit where credit's due. He had a decent performance. He went after Haley too hard. Haley, she was very stoic. I mean, she, did her usual talking points. I think she started leaning more to the right, more than I've seen her before, which to me was kind of a turnoff. But I get what she's doing because she's got Iowa coming up, and you have to play to your audience, right? So, but she did a good job of holding off Vivek and DeSantis' attacks fairly well. Vivek's done stupid thing where he picked up a piece of paper saying Nicki Hailey's crop looked like a third grader, wrote it, and he's going on, running his mouth, and then when the moderator said, "Well, do you want to respond to that?" and Nicki Hailey just goes, "No, not even worth my time." I was like just dismissing him totally, which is what she should have. That was the perfect answer. It's not worth your time, trying to argue with a guy like that especially when he's in that mode. He also went back to crazy mode too at the end there and started talking about all kind of conspiracy theories. And he just I don't know, he just emptied out. It was kind of weird because I say a couple times his arguments seemed pretty rational and stuff about the fentanyl and all those types of things. Then at the end, instead of he started going into this climate change is a giant hoax and they're gonna chain us all to our homes. There's no such thing. I mean, it just went on, and the election was all it was all the election storming of the Capitol was all an inside job, whatever the hell that even means. He just went on about all the crazy conspiracy. The elections were stolen in 2020. Everything you can name. Maybe he wants to be Trump's VP. Maybe that's what he was shooting for. I think Trump would even step away from this guy. It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. You're a little too much on the crazy train there. So anyway, so Vivek, DeSantis, I'll give him a passing grade. He did a decent job for what he's trying to do, and I get it. So I understand where he's coming from. I don't think he has a prayer. He's losing ground quickly and deservingly so. Come back to Florida, get back and help us with the problems we have here, Ron. We need you here. We don't need you in Iowa, and you're not going to win. Just come home. Haley didn't really, she didn't have any real standout moments, but she was solid all the way through, and she just she took it. She took the incoming well, and she took it in a mature manner. That leaves us with Christie. I thought he did the best. I don't know, maybe he's most entertaining. He was the most impassioned. He's definitely the most genuine. He really was. I mean, you can go from where he defended Haley and told Vivek to shut his pie hole because he was insulting her so badly. He's like, listen, dude, you weren't even voting until 4 years ago. You're busy in Harvard learning where all the countries are on the map. We were all three of us here were out, in public service jobs and trying to make the difference. You're not doing crap. So he had that. He had a really nice thing about, I thought, when he talked about his kids and keeping the government out of his kids' health it was a transgender topic, but he kind of went beyond that and talked about, he's an old school Republican, less government, less interference in our life. So, right now that sounds radical, but that's what Republicans used to be. It's like, I don't want more from the government. I want less. I don't want you in my home telling me my kids what to do. I don't want you in my business telling me how to run my business. DeSantis is now trying to get that can't say gay bill and can't use pronouns in regular businesses in Florida. Really? Regular businesses? Private businesses. States stay out of that. If a business wants to allow somebody to use a pronoun, then that's their business. That's what they call it, business. But anyways, Christie's old school. I really thought he did a good job. Does he have a prayer of winning? No. It's a shame, really, because of the four people up there, if I had to vote for one of them, I would vote for him. Secondly, I'd probably vote for Haley. And then the other two, I wouldn't vote for either one of them. I just couldn't. I probably would just write in Mickey Mouse or something. But those two candidates, if either one of them were to somehow unseat Trump, I would definitely be interested in what they had to say going forward. But it's not going to happen. So we got Trump. All right, so I thought about that one. So Trump won again last night, basically. And I started thinking about, who's Trump's VP going to be? And it's interesting because I guess why they don't want to talk too much about him, because one thing Trump loves is loyalty. So if you're going to be his VP pick, and the first question the media is going to ask you is, how do you feel about the 2020 election? Was it stolen? Is Joe Biden a legitimate president? And if you say he is, then you're disqualified for Trump, because he's going to demand that you back up his lie. Like I said in an earlier podcast, I think his lie is he's using it because it's his defense for all the court case he has against him. In a nutshell, if you believe what you were saying when you said it, then you weren't breaking the law. You truly believed that you were robbed. But, he knows he wasn't robbed. But he has to keep saying it. He thinks he was. And because otherwise it's going to come back in court and bite him in the ass. Wait a minute, you just said here, you're not, you weren't robbed, and now you're saying you are, et cetera. So I know it's a little confusing. But that's kind of why I think he sticks to that. He sticks to that line so much. So he's going to demand that his VP pick stays with the program. Who's that leave us with? I think that, well, DeSantis and Haley, he wouldn't pick them anyways. I don't think just because they're, he's already called them names and all this. It'd be really hard to backtrack on that. I mean, would he take somebody like nutty like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Carrie Lake? Because they definitely believe it, or at least they spout it, and that would pass his loyalty test. But he knows that if he takes one of those two, he's not gonna win the general. So I'm really, really curious about who it would qualify would check that box of, yeah, I'm on your side, you were ripped off, and yet not come across as like a French person. Maybe Christie Noem in South Dakota. Maybe. I don't know. So I'm going to think about that one a little bit. Maybe I'm going to do a podcast next on that. I'm going to do a little more research myself, get some more ideas of some people. But it's interesting who that person is going to be. And it's going to be relevant, too, because he's 77 and he doesn't have the greatest health either, him or Biden either. So VP picks are really important this time around. Usually they're not. When you got two guys that are 80 years old with questionable health and intelligence is kind of going bye-bye on both of them a little bit, that VP pick can be really important. So we'll look at that in the future, okay? Anyways, if you get a chance, like if you didn't see the debate, it was on CW18 here, so it wasn't on a major network. I don't know how many people actually watched it, but you can go to YouTube and catch either the whole thing or just catch highlights. The whole thing was pretty painful. Some of it was like, I wanted to turn it off, but I committed to watching it, so I did, and it was pretty entertaining. But if you don't have the time, look for the highlights. There's some really good singers in there that kind of memorable. Christie I thought was great. And I really thought he really kind of put a dot on it for me about this whole race in general. So give that a shot. Anyways, other than that, I'll check with you soon. And you guys have a great holiday season. We'll talk to you later.